So, last time what happened is you guys left out of the North Keep, which this map is a little incorrect. That North Keep is actually on the Cape of Eagles, not Iron Man's Bay. So it's on the other side, but that's whatever, it doesn't matter. So you came out of North Keep, and what happened was basically Sir Colin told you to get out. Basically, he didn't trust you, and but he did give you access to one of his ships, so that you can leave. And that's where we left off. And you guys said that you wanted to go to Castamere, and that pretty much was good with the captain, because he typically does go to Castamere to ferry supplies back and forth, because Castamere's main ally is actually the Riverlands, and more specifically House Mallister. Okay, the white part of the map is Castamere controlled lands. The red is Lannister controlled lands. The green is the Riverlands, and the black is the Iron Islands, and at the very top, the blue, that is the Twins. Okay. Any questions there?
No.
All right. Here we go. Castamere, the home of House Rain, and the proof that the weak can defeat the powerful. From almost nothing, Cillian Rain built his kingdom from the ashes of his ancestral home, or that is what people say. No one can be sure if the man is a Rain at all, although there are supposedly documents and proofs that is debated by the Lannisters, of course. Either way, men rally to his banner, and the fighting has been fierce for the last 10 years. Prince Joffrey Lannister was even murdered in the fighting. Today, the ship promises to take you there and allow you to make your way south, although it will be fraught with danger. You are informed that your path will lead you out to sea, swinging back to the coast when it is safe. There have been raids in Lannister privateers nearby, or so you've been told. The longboat heads out to sea, due west out of the Cape of Eagles. You are given a comfortable cabin and told to relax. Grog is given to you, and bits of half-stale bread and cheese. Okay, so you're currently in your cabin, and so you guys can go ahead and roleplay. It's a pretty modest cabin with just one bunk.
Aroldis sits in his hammock, or lays in his hammock, swinging to the motion of the ocean, enjoying himself as a man of Braavos, sitting back and passing the time away, chatting with his two fellow companions.
Never been one for the sea, Aroldis. Just kind of pipes up over like a whatever vintage he could afford on his good looks. No, charm. No, he had probably bought something small.
Yeah, they gave you sailor's grog too, which is essentially shitty rum.
Watered shitty rum at that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not so. The sea isn't so bad as long as you don't fall in.
I think Clair is spending this time trying to play down her appearance in case we encounter any reavers while we're on the longboat. I don't know, if we had a chance before we got on the boat, maybe she tried to swipe some boyish clothes.
Why don't you go ahead and roll your thievery?
Alright. Steal, I assume.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're able to grab some some very nondescript, kind of drab boys' clothes or man's clothes. They're a little big for you, but it
that works.
Yeah, it hides all your curves, your boobs, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, okay. So you're dressed kind of more like a boyish. Yeah. I'm mature. I'm 39. Yeah, you can tell. You're not gonna pass as a boy like Arya would, but you don't look quite as attractive, I suppose, currently.
Yeah, that's what we're going for. Little strategically placed dirt.
Okay. Anybody else react to how she appears? Anything like that?
That's a good idea, though. As long as they don't find out that you're actually a young woman, because then it won't matter how you look.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, she's not going to pass as a boy, but unless you have disguise. I mean, you could try to roll disguise, and then maybe you would, but
Aroldis just quips, it's a good thing there won't be any Frey Knights along the path we're currently on.
I'm looking at my stuff. I think it's deception, isn't it? For disguise. I mean, I could see if I could make her look like a boy.
Nah, that's only for you.
Really? There's no like.
You can't no, because it's more than just how you look. It's your mannerisms and all that kind of stuff too.
Just don't ever go to the bathroom around the crew.
I mean, you could probably give her an assist if she wanted to try that, but
yeah, let's see if we can do something there.
Okay.
So do you just want me to roll my deception?
No, you wouldn't roll. What's your deception? Is it 4?
No, it's 5.
It's 5. That's still so you get +2 to your roll, Rob. Your deception.
All right, I'm just going to hit the deception button, and we can add the 2.
Yep, that's fine.
After the fact.
Mm-hmm. So that's a 20. So that's 1 degree of success. So yeah, you are So in order to do this, you have to cut your hair. Are you willing to do that?
Aroldis will try and talk her out of that. Looking like a boy is one thing, but let's remember, we may need you to look like a very young woman down the road.
That's the other side of this. So maybe what we're going for here is just to sort of pass scrutiny from a passing ship, not necessarily face-to-face scrutiny.
That's fine too.
How about she?
I'd be okay with that roll.
How about she tucks her hair up under a hat or something for that sort of deception?
A hat.
Floppy straw hat.
I'm just thinking what we could use.
Like all sailors and the scarf bandana kind of thing tied on the head.
There you go. There you go. We could do that. So you could tie a bandana over your head and kind of pull it back.
Yeah.
And tie it in the back. Okay, it works. Yeah. Yeah, but she still has the hair. If she did it and cut the hair, she definitely would. All right. Okay.
Try not to give the Iron Islanders any reason to fuck.
Oh, they don't need a reason.
Right, but if we had the hot redhead on deck, that would may as well wave the red flag in front of the bull.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we move on?
Aroldis in his jesting says it's a good thing for Arian Stormbreaker. He's on the opposite sea. I'd put a matching scar on his other butt cheek.
I'll be getting my money out of him yet.
Soon enough.
Alrighty. Alright. It only takes 6 hours before land is called. In the distance you spot a conglomeration of towers near the coast of your destination. There are many ships in the harbor with foreign banners flapping in the wind. The castle overlooks the sea from rocky outcroppings and steep cliffs. The castle looks very defensible for certain. The winds pick up as you get closer, but the captain has lowered the sails already and the men are rowing into shore. Gusts of wind almost knock you off your feet as you stand on deck among 20 or so soldiers. As you get closer, you realize that the massive castle is not one, but in fact 5 keeps, each connected by massive stone bridges and each with 2 towers. In fact, after some study, there appears to be 10 towers for certain. The dock passes under 2 small towers and offers a walkway just above the sea. The seawater washes up into the walk and makes it clearly slick in the winter and spring. The road turns either deeper into the labyrinth or out into a large rocky hill where a trail appears to be set away from the strangely configured castle. So I would like you each to roll survival navigation.
One more and we tilt.
Okay. So the captain brings the ship along the dock, and one of his boatswains jumps out and ties the ship down. And after a few minutes, they lower the gangplank down to the harbor, and the captain nods, and he's like, "You're off then," and he just waits for you to leave.
What port is this, if you don't mind me asking, sir?
And he can't help but smile, and he's like, "Where did I tell you I was going to take you?"
Well, I can't say I've ever been to Castamere, but
Just asking, would we have had access to that map that we looked at the beginning, the Sunset Sea map?
I think probably before you left, you looked at the painted tables. So if you want to, why don't you roll knowledge? Go ahead and roll knowledge, education, or whatever that one is, or research, whatever is the best. That's good enough. Yeah. You vaguely have a recollection of what this looks like. Mm-hmm.
It just seems that, my good sir, this trip took a lot less time than I would have expected it to take.
He nods and he's like, "We had favorable winds." And he looks at you and he says, "Please be off my ship now."
well, it's that of the waters, and I take my chances on dry land. Aroldis.
Very well, master. He kind of gives Ian the "this isn't right" eyes.
Ian doesn't acknowledge that. He's just like in his noble clothes and walking with this swill that they call drinking material on the ship in his hand.
Alright. So, as you get off onto the deck, you notice that there's several other crews that they either just got there or they haven't been there very long. They're unloading crates and loading crates and that sort of thing. So there's quite a bit of activity in the harbor. Let me switch the scene, which I tend to forget. So this is the scene before you, right? In general. So underneath the two towers, the harbor or the dock enters towards the keep, and it enters into becomes a small road or pathway, actually more, and it leads directly to what it looks like is a castle. And on the other side, you can tell there's a small walkway around. It would be like right about this way, and it heads up into the rocky hills. And you can see some activity in front of you, none along the walkway next to the water, and that goes up into the hills. So what do you guys do?
Aroldis, once they're kind of, the three of them are by themselves, leans over to the two and is like, well, to be perfectly honest, there's no way this is Castamere. Because A, if we looked at the map, Castamere is landlocked. And B, that trip was way too short.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say he would drop you off directly at Castamere, but somewhere in their territory. So really the only place it could be would be a small port, which clearly that doesn't look like this is, right? Or maybe the crag, but yeah, I agree. You would probably kind of realize this is probably not Castamere.
Aroldis looks over to Ian and Clair and goes, I'm not a man of Westeros, but you two are. Do you recognize any of these sigils or sigils? Do you see any, or are there any on the tower that would possibly give a chance for Ian to identify?
Yeah, I would like to make a breeding check if I could.
Okay. Yep. So on the top of the tower, you see a massive black banner with a scythe in the middle, flapping. And you know this is the sigil of House Harlaw, which is based in
the Iron Islands.
The Iron Islands on Harlaw, and this is most likely the 10 Towers.
Aroldis?
Yes.
Remind me, when I own the Stormlands, we're going to burn the Riverlands.
I'll remind you. I'm sure we'll all live that long. Well,
you do something nice for some people, and they just, what is the kingdom's turn to these days? We're in the Iron Islands. That's House Harlaw's land. This is most likely the 10 Towers, obviously by the 10 Towers. I don't know how I missed this. Wonderful.
I think the real question is, why is Sir Colin so annoyed with us that we'd have one of his ships drop us off here?
One thing you do note is the ship is not leaving port.
Part of me would love to go and run him through, but that would be a very short, though satisfying revenge. The question becomes now, what are we going to do? And he kind of looks at all the ships with the different banners, and now that we're here, I am out of ideas at the moment.
Well, we could just look for honest wages. I mean, even if this is the Iron Islands, we could look for someone who isn't a part, maybe an Ibonese ship, something that could drop us off in somewhere else for a couple of crowns.
I don't suppose any of the ships looked like traders, more long ships and warships would be my
they
guess.
They look like pretty much all long ships. There's not even a galley among them. So these are raiding ships, right? Not made for deep sea voyages. There's probably some fishing vessels as well, but
well, I suppose we could always. I think the last thing we should do is go seek an audience with the Lord of the Castle. We could always start at a tavern and listen for gossip and try and make our move from there.
Ian's kind of standing in the open-air dock, scratching his beard. I could see what I could do about making some coinage, presenting myself as a merchant.
Claire looks at her two companions and asked, "Do either of you happen to know how to sail?"
No, dear Claire, I only acquire the men that could.
Well, I know it's crass, but I can sell my sword and Claire can sell her cunning. I don't know what you have to offer, Ian. I don't know how much they...
My tongue works as good as her cunning would.
Aroldis kind of stops.
that is a interesting comment. Wow. We got 2 prostitutes and a cell sword.
This is a bad joke, Aroldis says. This is something I hear in the tavern.
Well, you started it, Aroldis. It's not in my taste, but I just figured I'd be black for a moment.
Well, I say we go get ourselves a drink and sit down and figure this out. Standing on the deck won't help anything, and the longer we stand here, the more I'm itching towards going back to that boat.
There's no need to cause a fuss. Let us just be about this to go see if we can acquire some information.
Okay. So as you head forward, you notice that moving around the keep on that little walkway is probably not a good idea. It is spring still, and it looks like it's pretty slippery. You can see ice in parts glittering or glimmering kind of off the sun a bit there, sort of like black ice type of thing. But straight ahead, it looks... you can see that it's strange because although it looks like it's part of the keep, it doesn't appear to be directly beneath the main part of the castle. And you notice that when you pass under the arch, it serves as a stone bridge that connects to towers facing east in the sea. On the other side of the arch is a huge set of doors that stand unguarded. As you look upon them, they suddenly open and a man stumbles out in a drunken stupor and heads the way you had come. The doors are left open, allowing you entry. So inside, from what you can see, this is just from outside, there are a long, narrow hallway that leads further into the building, and heat washes over you from the fires burning hot in nearly every small nook you can see. Men and women lounge around in comfortable chairs and drinks in their hand. At the table, men are gambling with dice and strangely strangely slamming the point of a knife between their fingers. You can see a man cut his finger off as rapidly maneuvers the knife between his fingers and eventually falters. He screams in pain while others cheer and laugh. Coin is exchanged afterward while the man holds his hand and walks off in defeat. The room is very dark, and in some spots around the room, and you could swear you hear the groans of passion and pleasure here and there. As you grow closer, you see what you had heard. In corners there are men on women, women on women, and men on men. This is a strange place indeed, and the exits are difficult to see from near the entrance. You must investigate further to find out more.
Well, when the drunk comes stumbling out, Claire will go try and bump into him.
You bump into him, and if you're gonna lift his coin purse, it's pretty meager. It's you feel it, and it's not even heavy enough that it feels like there's anything in there.
The good old Clair fondling the sacks.
And the drunk guy kind of looks at you, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, sir," and just kind of like stumbles on by.
All right. I tried, fellas.
I don't need you to make money for me. I have a talent that makes me money, although I won't ever see it. But
Is it with your tongue?
no.
He's got a new benefit. It's called rolling the R's.
Well, Aroldis, laughing at Ian and Claire being called sir, decides to go further into this area and watch the game and see what's going on. Some of the things are, of course, obvious in the darker corners.
Yeah. As you move through the hall, you notice that it's just one narrow hallway, and it opens up into this very large room. This more central parts of the room are lit, and where the outsides of the room are not as lit, except and right in ahead of you, there's another narrow hallway, and it looks like there's stairs that go up. There's very large picnic-style tables littered everywhere in kind of a haphazard kind of way. There's a lot of dicing going on, drinking, and there's no more of that strange game with a knife happening as of right now.
So if I wanted to try my hand at winning a couple of games of whatever dice game they're playing, could I attempt it?
You sure could.
Let's see. How would I go about that? Because I think it's deception to cheat, but how would I actually play? I think there's a thing for it somewhere in the rules.
There is a deception cheat. We could say that you are just basically your technique of rolling the dice would be fine. That sort of thing, like kind of sliding them instead of actually rolling them, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe play a couple rounds, maybe like lose a little bit, have some talk, drink with a bunch of them, and then I'll, obviously try to cheat on a big pot.
Okay, well, there seems to be a big game in the middle of dice, and so are you gonna approach them?
Yeah, I will approach and sit down at the table. Wait to ask basically, and say, "Well, is there room for one more, gentlemen?"
And they look at you and shrug and nod and essentially point to the pot, which it looks like they're doing 5 silvers a roll at this point. And he's like, "Yeah, I know it's a rich game. Lots of traders in."
Rich game, huh? And he goes, Well, deal me in. I want to play. Might be.
They wait for you to put down your money.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So you can go ahead and roll your. So you're going to lose on purpose? Is that what's happening here?
Like I'm going to lose the first. I'm going to lose on purpose the first time, and like the first maybe, let's say 3. The first 3 times I lose on purpose, and I'll just
It's hard to lose on purpose, right? So we're just going to roll randomly to see if you do lose or not. So roll 1d6. You actually won the first one. So you're trying to you're hoping you lose and you roll and you actually win, and the 3 guys next to you all groan and as you scoop the pot and make about 15 silvers on one roll.
God, I guess my luck's just that good. All right, and it's like puts the 15 silvers back in the pot.
So you're gonna bet 15, and so that like most of the guys shake their head and they won't do it, but one guy pushes 15 silver in, and he looks at you and he's like, "Roll your dice." And they pass you the dice.
This is free money for right now. I'm just trying to make a good face with these guys. So I'm going to try to fail again.
So this time you roll, and they're simple. They're like 6-sided dice, and they basically have 1 through 6 on them. And essentially you roll a 3, and he rolls the 4, and he like claps his hands, and he's like, "Ha!" He's like, "Try to come in and hit us quick, eh?" And he pulls the silver back and starts laughing.
Oh, that is a shame. That is a shame. Whatever shall I do? Say, you wouldn't mind playing a couple more rounds, would you? I've got some coin to disperse.
He's like, "Yeah, I'll play more. Why not?"
Yeah, and then this is where like I just I'll keep sweetening the pot until I can get like a bunch of people playing, and then I want to like pull in like at least a dragon if I can.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to pull in a dragon. That's like 250.
That's 210 silver.
Yeah.
Maybe like could I target like 40 silvers? Maybe.
Yeah, probably. We can say that you can get up to that. So eventually you win and lose, and you're basically about even. And at this point you have a few guys to roll, and they're all nodding and waiting to roll their bones.
Yeah, and so there's just like a moment where he's sitting there, and it's kind of like almost like sly, as like he's been playing this whole time with the dice, and he'll just like let him slide from his hand instead of like rolling fully.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh no, but it's still a 15. Actually, hold on. Let me see something. I need to look at my... I don't think I have anything that pertains to it, but...
Well, I rolled a 12, you rolled a 15, so you got it. So you roll your dice, and it slides out perfectly, and you roll a pair of 6s, which is basically the best roll you can do because they're just rolling 2 dice over and over. And so everybody like cringes and yells, and there's cursing, and someone takes a tankard of ale and whips it across the room, and the silver is yours to try to take.
Well, how about this then? Since I just managed to make your money away, how about I buy everyone in the tavern a round?
Everyone in the place around, huh? So the guys next to you, they look at each other and they're like, look pretty surprised, and they shrug and they're like, "That's fine with me." And he waves over to the corner, which you can't really see, honestly. It's not real clear where all the booze is coming from. But as you get closer, you can tell that there's actually a guy just essentially, he's got a keg, and he just keeps just giving out beer. And as you get closer, you realize that he just like hands you one, doesn't ask for payment, and everybody in the back just starts dying laughing as you see that this actually isn't exactly a tavern.
Oh, I thought it was a tavern. I think it's just one of those things where I just go, huh, well.
And so,
honest mistake, I didn't know.
Yeah, at this point, people kind of start like paying more attention to you as you've won some money and claimed that you're going to buy people drinks, and you hear people like talking about it here and there. And at one point, eventually, a guy comes your way, and he looks like basically what you would assume a Ironborn does look like. Tall, lithe kind of fellow. Looks like he's probably looks older than he actually is. He's got his leathers on, and he walks over and he looks at Ian and Aroldis and then Clair, and then back, and he's like, "I see you can roll the dice." And then he like pulls out a small like stiletto type knife, and he's like, "But can you play the finger dance? That is the ultimate bet."
My good man, why would I risk my own finger for such a thing? I have... These fingers are quite useful.
And he looks at Aroldis and he nods and he's like, "What about you?"
Depends on what we're wagering.
And I need to... So he looks over at Clair and then looks over at Aroldis and he's like, "How about the boy?"
In exchange for what?
And he's like, "Everybody wants something. What do you want? I can't believe your butt boy is worth so much."
Oh, he
My
does
dear.
quite well.
Oh, my dear man. That butt boy is worth a lot more than you would think. Besides, if this is to be a wager, we haven't seen your part of the bargain. If you evidently desire something that we desire, or we have that you want, then you must provide something of equal value, no?
So the guy takes the stiletto and kind of like levels it at Ian. He's like, "Why don't you tell me what you want? You look like you're never been here before, from what I heard."
No, I don't think I have ever been to the Iron Islands.
"And I could ask you what you're doing here. The king
Well,
would
Oh,
want
that's
to know."
not part of the deal. I just want a ship that tastes going south.
You asked for a boy. You didn't ask for information, my man.
Oh, but what I just said was, quite simply, there are questions to be asked about you, and I could go ask them of other people who might want to know. There are people in this room that might want to know, huh?
Yes, that would be the case.
He's like, "If you want to get on a ship, I could possibly arrange a meeting. But first, you would have to play me in the finger dance. The butt boy for an introduction." So how's Claire responding to be... She's being called a boy, but not exactly the desired effect, I guess.
Well, her response is to just sort of shy into whatever shadow is closest by. Not getting too far away from Aroldis and Ian, but
Can you
definitely
roll?
does.
Can you roll like whatever the deception disguise again?
How about stealth blend in?
I don't think. Well, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Okay, that's fine for now. So he looks at Aroldis and Ian, and he's like, "Who wants to play me?"
Oh, we haven't settled on terms yet. I think this lovely butt boy, as you put it, just for a simple meeting. I don't know if that's enough. You might get to use them, but not keep her, him, whatever.
And he like lifts his left hand up to his face, and you notice his pinky finger is gone on his left hand, and there's like scars all over his hands, or all over his left hand. And he's like, I think I could agree with that. So you need to roll deception. Bluff.
Oh, man, I wish I could
Unless you're really truly trying to turn Claire out, which I doubt is true.
I mean, I wish I could roll it. Shoot.
Aroldis doesn't plan on losing, so I don't know how much he's deceiving. It depends on what the dice roll is.
Well, the deception is that you would, if you lost, honor the bargain, right?
Let's see if that's the right dice. That is correct.
Okay, that's good. So he seems to be in agreement with that.
Tell me about your game.
He's like, it is simple. And he waves you over kind of the table and puts his hand down and just quickly takes the stiletto and bangs it on the outside of his thumb all the way to the outside of his pinky through in between his fingers. His fingers are probably double the width of each finger except the thumb, which is larger. And he just does it. He does it once, and he's like, you do this, and then he does it again, only it comes back, right? So he goes once through and then once back with his knife in between his hands as quickly as he can. And then he misses all his fingers and smiles, and he says, the first one to cut themselves loses.
Fair enough.
And he's like, if you're not going fast enough, somebody will make you go again.
Well, you're the expert, or what appears to be the expert despite missing a finger. Why don't you go first?
He smiles and he's like, very well. So we're going to play the finger dance. First, I need Aroldis to roll Will Courage. All right, that's good.
Nice.
Enough. Okay. So you are not afraid of this. So what we're going to do is you're going to be rolling agility, either agility, contortions, dodge, or quickness. No armor penalty applies at all here. Basically, you will both go each round. Essentially, each round it's going to get more and more difficult. If you both fail on the same round, you keep going unless someone is too injured to continue. If there isn't a round where one person fails and the other person succeeds, that person who succeeds wins. All right.
Aroldis sets his left hand flat on the table, and before he starts, he goes, one quick other thing. I think if I win, I need to pick out one of these women in here.
He smiles and he's like, women like the finger dance.
And I like to finger women.
He laughs at that. He finds that pretty funny.
There's like a resounding check is like from me is like 50 silvers on the Braavosi.
Oh, so definitely there are people who definitely get into that betting, and there's a guy you can bet all the way up to a gold dragon.
Dude, I'm betting. You know what? No, I think I'm gonna aim. Well, a gold dragon will be fine. Yeah, I'm just like a dragon will suffice, and I obviously flash the dragon that I have.
And so as the bet, basically a lot of attention comes around the table, and you hear people whispering. There's something about small finger, and something about the big wager, and you got a big crowd around you. So the Ironborn puts his hand down on the table, and he begins the finger dance. And he quickly puts his hand down on the table and just with the stiletto goes straight left and then straight back right without touching everything, and touching his fingers, and everybody cheers. And he looks at Aroldis and he's like, your turn. And then he looks over at Clair and kind of winks at her.
Aroldis burns through it at lightning speed and looks at him and goes, "Oh, was this supposed to be difficult?"
And the people around him just do one like, oh, kind of like that. And he smiles and he's like, I knew you might be a bit of a challenge. And he does it again. And matching your speed, he just flies through it as fast as he can. And everybody is just like basically leaning over the table and just you can just feel the excitement, right, of people just like very interested in what's happening, and he just like nods back at you.
What the fuck is even happening? Oh my god.
Oh, Jesus.
What is even happening right now?
Oh, you're not sure what the finger dance is exactly?
Oh no, I know what it is.
Oh, okay. You're just talking about the rolls. Yeah. All right. Are you there, Mike? I can't hear you.
Yep, I'm ready.
So you blow through it as well, and so there's just more people just like staring in pretty much disbelief. All right. And then he goes again. And maybe just a little not as quick as last time, but he blows through one more time. You're up.
Trying not to feel the pressure, he blows through it, or attempts to again. Whoa!
God. It's so you're just as fast, if not faster than him, it seems like at this point. And like people were just like looking on in just disbelief, and there's other side bets going on and whatnot, and yeah, and then he looks a little surprised. He goes again, and as he's going, he like nicks his ring finger. He doesn't have a pinky finger, remember? So he has a stub, but he nicks it in blood, and everybody like cheers as he nicks his finger, and he like raises up and like throws down the stiletto all pissed off.
Aroldis kind of sits back. Do I need to roll?
Yeah, you need to roll.
Okay, before his Snyder mark, let's make sure I don't bollocks it. Oh
man. And so Aroldis kind of in his, I don't know, thinking that let me count. How many times have we rolled?
4? That would be my 4th.
Yeah, I think we're on 15. Okay. So you go and you are as you put down, you almost nick your pinky, and you like look at it and notice that there's no scratch or blood there, so and everybody like just cheers.
Aroldis takes a kind of a deep sigh and looks up to Smallfinger, goes, "Is it even fair since you're missing a finger?"
And he laughs and he's like, "Probably not." And he shrugs a little bit, and he walks over to try to find Clair, but he can't actually see her at this point, and all the confusion of she's kind of mixed in with all the crowd, and he like curses, and he's like, "All right, I'll get you that talk we talked about." And he's like, "You wait here."
Fair enough. I'll be finding myself a whore while we wait.
And I'll be attaining my gold dragon.
Claire sighs as the distraction ends before she could get the guy's purse.
Don't worry, I already did that.
All right, so you guys come out with a gold dragon and hopefully a guy to talk to. All right, so about an hour passes. Aroldis is off in one of the corners. and Ian and Clair are kind of milling around the middle of the drinking establishment. And coming back down the stairs, Smallfinger comes with him, another person that looks a bit different. So this man is black-haired with, dark features. Do I have... one second. Yeah. So, and he's actually, from Claire's point of view, very attractive, actually. Blue eyes, kind of stands a lot more regal than a lot of these other Ironborn. And he steps through, and Smallfinger waves over to Ian and Aroldis. Or not Aroldis, but Ian and Clair. I guess Aroldis is back by now. An hour's a long time. So, and he walks up and he's like, "You're looking for a way off the island, I hear."
Yes, our previous constituents decided that the deal that we had agreed upon didn't get us to where we were wanting to go, so they dropped us here. And I am privy to some information about the other side of Westeros. If some of your ilk would have use of such information. I happen to know shipping routes between Essos and Westeros quite well.
He's like, "Oh, really? That does me absolutely no good. This is the Sunset Sea, not the Narrow Sea."
Aren't you Ironborn?
He laughs and he's like, "Of course we're Ironborn."
Then don't you reeve? I read about the reaving.
He's like,
and had a...
He's like, "We do reave. We also sacrifice soft men like you to the sea."
Yes, but soft men like me have uses.
He crosses his arm and he's like, "That's to be seen."
Well, I wouldn't have made it here without having my own uses.
Okay, so we're going to do... first of all, this guy, he's like, "Sit with me for a minute, you three." And he looks at Clair and he's like, "Why are you disguised as a boy?" And he just like feigns kind of disinterest and he goes, "Ah." He's like, not an unwise plan. And he just... Good.
Oh, I was going to say, the ruse is up. You've broken Smallfinger's heart.
Yeah,
Nice.
Smallfinger looks at the other guy and he's just like, "What?" And he's like, "You may go." And Smallfinger like bites his bottom lip and he all of a sudden he just kind of looks up in the air and goes, just sighs, and he's like not that worried about it anymore.
When Shedrick calls her out on it, Claire meets his gaze and gives a little nod of the head.
He says, "I would keep your disguise on for the moment." And he looks at the rest of me and he's like, "I'll tell you who I am first. I am the first mate of the Golden Goose. We're the best longboat this island's ever seen. And I am Shedrick Harlaw, grandson of Roderick Harlaw." And he kind of leans back and puts his elbow on the table. He's like, "If that does not tell you who I am, essentially my grandfather was the lord of this castle. But I am only a fourth son. So I make my way reaving."
Where have you been reaving, young Shedrick?
He's like, "I reave everywhere, from Castamere to Lannisport."
My young boy, if I may, you should broaden your horizons. There are riches to be had across the seas that you would dare dream of.
He's like, is that so?
That is so. There's a Braavosi sitting before you now. Why not ask him about his home? The Iron Bank of Braavos, as I recall it. Oh, I remember the days of seeing that glorious building.
And he kind of laughs, and he's like, my assumption is you think I'm some ignorant Ironborn. If I were you, I would think the same. But do you know what my grandfather was called? And he looks at you for a moment and just... He's like, yes. The Reader, he was called, and I have inherited his library. I would say I know as much about Essos as you do, if not more.
Well,
I'm a simple... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, if you ever have the chance and you think it would be something that you would love to partition to an old man like myself, I do love to read. I share a fondness with that, if that is what you do believe, but you've come to speak to us for seeing about acquiring a way off this island, yes.
He's like, that is what Smallfinger brought me to you. You beat him in the finger dance, which is not an easy feat.
Yes, well, I've been burned by previous deals before, Shedrick, and I'm willing to strike this deal with you, but have you heard of Queen Daenerys?
Oh yes, I have heard of Queen Daenerys. Who has not?
Well...
She is the rightful heir of Westeros, is she not?
There's like a moment where like I'm gonna roll bluff to see if I can like play it off as like I don't believe that, you know?
Okay.
It's basically say, well, there are many heirs to the kingdom, Shedrick, I'm sure you know, but yes, it is hers by right. There are many pretenders. So the bluff was just to kind of keep it vague.
Yeah. He just kind of shrugs and he's like, so let's do this. We're gonna do an intrigue.
Before we do
go
that,
ahead.
can I do an empathy, awareness empathy? It's a free action.
Sure.
When he says that, can I like try to pinpoint if he really believes that or not? Claire just brought that up.
If Danny is the rightful heir to Westeros?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So that probably would be good enough. It would be against his probably...
is against their passive will.
Passive will. Yeah, that would be fine. He doesn't have 5, so... I mean, he's probably talking in a more technical type of level.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That she technically is the heir of Westeros. Now... you get the feeling that he probably doesn't give two shits in reality, but and certainly he probably favors the Iron Islands' independence. But yeah, as far as, I mean, oddly enough, this guy does seem very educated, and so, which is strange for Ironborn, right?
Yep. So, Shedrick, I may know of a situation to where you might be able to come around to more gold than you could fit inside that entire castle up yonder.
All right. Well, let's have an intrigue and determine if he thinks so. So what we're going to do, kind of as normal, you'll have 3 rounds to succeed. We're going to do this one a little differently since he's not intriguing you. You will need a base of 4 successes to succeed or I'm sorry, you will need to beat his composure, right? So you basically have 3 rounds to do that. You can all join in. So, but what I will do for each one of you that joins in, I'm going to add composure to him. So, For each one each one above 1, I will give him 1 composure. So if you all tag him, it's +2 composure, and he can take frustrations.
I don't know. Because do we have a time limit on this, or is it just based upon like
3 rounds to defeat him?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Just real quick, Aroldis' perspective, he's probably not going to participate because he doesn't really have an angle to lie, because to him, to get a boat south, he doesn't really give a shit if he has to stab a few people and help them reeve along the way.
So, Shedrick, I'm willing to have you hosted upon my homestead in the Stormlands. I'm sure you know wait, where do we? It's have you heard of Dragonstone, Shedrick?
He looks at you and kind of rolls his eyes, and he's like, "Haven't we been through this?" Yes, of course.
Well, yes. I know that, but these lands that you currently reeve, they've been reaved for how many years now by your fellows? The same lands over and over and over. Wouldn't it be something to be desired upon if you had a base of operations somewhere overseas where you could reeve to your heart's content for lands that were full of gold and silver and slaves and salt wives that you could partake in? I would be willing to offer such a thing to you if you would take us as far as maybe Old Town.
And he says, where do you think you're going to offer me that?
This is out of character, but what?
No, you said you were going to, I'm sorry. You said you were going to offer him gold and stuff, right? Like, for reaving? Like, good plunder?
Oh, yeah, definitely good plunder.
Yeah, you said where?
Well, you would have a base of operations on the opposite side of Westeros. You would have all the Stormlands owned by the God, who owns the Blackfires? You could reave all that side of Westeros. You could reave all the Summer Isles. You could reave Essos, all the way past to the Thousand Islands, even to the Smoking Sea. Your heart's content. You would always have a home or a place to stay and lay your head at my home.
He kind of laughs and he's like, "You do realize I have a longboat, correct?" He's like, "I do know that in the narrow sea we would be facing large galleys, warships." He's like, "Balin Greyjoy tried to rebel once, and he got smashed.
Yes, I know this, but I am in possession. I'm in the possession of 2 fleets of warships from my home. I'd be willing to lend you them."
He seems interested in that. So go ahead and roll as persuasion or deception, whichever it is.
This is deception bluff.
Okay.
Definitely.
18. That is. So deception bluff. What technique is that using?
Oh yeah, I forgot there's whole techniques to that. Let me look on the page and I'll
I'll
tell you.
Whatever technique that deception bluff uses. I think it's probably convince or something.
I think it is convince. Hold on, let me look. Techniques divined. It's bargain, I think. Yeah, it's deception bluff is bargain.
Okay, and what's the damage on that one? Is it will or is it cunning?
Cunning.
It's cunning. It's 4, so it's 4 for me.
4. So that's 2 degrees of success. So okay. So he seems to be interested.
And at this, I obviously have to like elate to him who I am. My name is Lord Ian Spirre.
He's like, He's like, in all the books I've read, I've never heard of that house.
Well, I won't pretend my house was never great. It was never a large house, but we served the Baratheons for ages, years.
So is Clair going to participate?
I don't think she is this round. I think she'd sort of stay out of the... This guy's probably not used to young girls, even ones in drag, interjecting into conversations with the men.
Okay.
And so if she can avoid it, she will.
All right. So Shedrick, he's like, well, for your fleet, that is one thing, but how do I know you're telling me the truth? I could get to your island and you could have me hanged immediately.
My dear boy, there is nothing more on this earth than... God, what do they even call their land? There's nothing else that I have left to myself other than my honor, and I promise you on everything that I have left on my own wife's grave that I will do exactly as I say. I have nothing else to give. My money's been taken by the Stormbreakers, except for what I have acquired on my trip here. I've been attacked by lizard lions, and we've been accosted by bandits, and had to deal with a dastardly phrase to get here. I've done everything I could to get to Old Town, and I need to get to Old Town, and nothing is going to stop me. And if I have to pay you handsomely and reward you handsomely, I will. You could akin myself to being something of a Lannister. Let's say I take after their values. I always pay my debts. Isn't that their words? Yes.
Yes, they usually pay him with a noose.
Well, I don't think that. I don't think I would do that, and I've given you no reason to do that. But yes, it is as you say. You have no reason to trust me, except for, well, coin is good. Coin is as good as any, and at any point, you can use me as a bargaining chip. I won't stay without a hand's breadth from you until you trust me. Slit my throat if you have to.
Okay, go ahead and roll.
What do you want me to roll? Persuasion?
If you're telling the truth.
Yeah, persuasion is telling the truth. Like, I'm gonna just...
Okay. So he nods and seems to be happy with that, and he's like, I have one thing that I would ask.
Name your price. I would never go into a negotiation not thinking of that it's a two-way street.
I accept that I would take command of your fleet, and we would reeve with this fleet. And we might even share with the profits with you. But until I trust you, I must have some sort of leverage. Must I not?
That you must.
He nods to Clair, and he's like, the girl. That's no deal. I will not harm her. I will not touch her. But she will stay by my side until I trust you.
I think Ian's just kind of like... He scratches his beard for a little bit and, sips some shitty sailor's wine, grog, and... kind of leans over to whisper into Claire's ear, and kind of confide into hers, are you gonna be cool with this? What word do I have, as I say, looking over at him, and that you will not lay a hand on Claire? She is not but a hand's breadth away from her maidenhood herself. I'd like to keep her that way.
He shrugs slightly and he says, I'm an Ironborn. You shouldn't trust me. But I am different than the rest of these men, as you know.
You give me access to this library that you have and let me read as we wait for proper passage on this sailing, and if Claire so deems it so, and he kind of looks at her.
Yeah, Claire's willing to go along with this as proposed.
And Ian just kind of chuckles a little bit. So the library and Claire to hold in captive until my safe return. I should have you know that she's the heir to my estate. So it's more akin to the fact that you're taking a hostage.
He nods and he's like, then it's so. And he reaches out his hand and he's like, my lady, shall we go to my quarters with the library? Everyone's invited, of course.
We're gonna get stabbed in the back. Oh well.
And Claire, again, gives a nod of the head, takes his hand.
Don't worry, Claire. I just set you up with like a husband to be. He'll marry you, and then you both will own my estate.
After he offs you.
Oh, of course, but...
So he leads the three of you up into the tower, and you walk up a few stories, then you take a large bridge across into another part of the castle, and then you go into that castle, and then you take another bridge over to another tower, and then finally you reach this just this massive room with books from essentially from the knees all the way to the ceiling, which is 20 feet high, and there's like probably 10 rows each of these books, and he just kind of waves and he's like, this is the largest library in all of Westeros except the Citadel.
I think there's like a moment where like Ian just kind of like walks in the room and his eyes just kind of like light up, like, you were not lying, Shedrick.
He walks over to something like a couch and sits down, and a woman comes out, and she basically comes out of behind a curtain, and she is dressed, basically what you would assume for an Ironborn woman, drab. She's plain lady, and she fills a goblet for him, and he nods to anyone else that wants to partake. And he's like, was there some certain book you were looking for, my lord?
No, it's just inspiring to see youth such as yourself entranced in such words. If only half your generation would be such.
He just kind of laughs, and he's like, half? He's like, I might be the only man on the Iron Islands that can read, for all I know.
Make that 2. I can read better than most.
Hey, I read well.
I don't read good. That's what Aroldis just said.
Claire looks around at all of this and doesn't say anything, but decides to herself that someday she's going to learn to read all of this.
You might have to. So yes, is there anything else you wish to, as Ian kind of like is perusing the books and like running his finger over all of the like the rims and like reading the things, is there anything in particular that stands out, like a Valerian book that he probably wouldn't know how to read? Or
Yeah, so you find a section of books, and it's not a huge section, but you notice that every single book in this section is not in Westerosi. And you do notice one that you think is Valerian. You're not 100% sure because you can't read Valerian, you can't write Valerian. You can just understand some of it.
Yeah.
And speak very, a little bit of it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think he just kind of says Valerian in Valerian and like rubs his hand over the book and just shakes his head. You do have quite the collection.
He's like, it's my grandfather's collection more than anything. I've only come across a few books here and there that he hasn't had.
Does your grandfather still yet live?
He like shakes his head and he's like, no, I'm afraid not.
It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Well?
He stands up and he drinks his drink and like walks towards his door, and he's like, anyway, you have free reign of my quarters and the library. I will go prepare the ship so that we will be ready to leave tomorrow.
Aye. And like, Ian is like a giddy schoolgirl at all the books, and he's probably like taking one out and is like reading some like treatise on like money management or something, like how to get shekels.
Yeah, he finds a book written by a banker of the Iron Bank of Braavos on finance, essentially.
Aroldis, despite the impressive collection of the library, is bored to tears and sits down in a chair and kind of leans back and looks over at Clair and says, hey, butt boy, do you want to go get me something to drink?
And as Aroldis asks for a drink, the same lady comes back out and like pours him a drink just immediately.
Aroldis thanks her and smiles and has a drink.
So you guys can investigate. There's more books than you know what to do with, right? But you can investigate his quarters, or we can move on.
I think I just want to make one check, because this is the only time I think I could possibly make this check. I want to attempt a knowledge check, and I want to look up something about the Citadel. If he has any books about the Citadel's construction from way back when.
Let's do it. Yeah, you're gonna need to do a knowledge research. Roll. So what specifically are you looking for?
I'm looking on for like not super recent, but maybe somewhere between like the 200 to 300-ish era of like, this is when they did some reconstruction, or they did like the entire, like maybe for like charts of Old Town's map, or civilian district maps,
drawings, stuff like
yeah,
that.
Architectural drawings, the civilian, like the entire town's map, stuff for like the waterworks underneath the city, the waterways, basically like the sewer system. I would imagine that Old Town would have the Citadel would have like a God, what are they called? The
Aquifers.
Yeah, aquifers, like an old, because that's how I envision it. I don't know if it does or not, but it's undoubted that they have like a sewer system, and I just want to look for like civil charts or.
Yeah, that's a very specific thing. So, and something that would be probably would be almost one of a kind, right? Somebody's document, like architectural plans.
Yeah. I'm looking for anything of that nature,
So let's go ahead and roll.
Citadel.
Yeah, you can go ahead and roll. I had to get a TN in mind, basically.
In this alt history, by the way, did they do much raiding down all the way to the Shield Islands and past that, or
that's with whatever bonus I get from the
into the Reach you're talking about? Yeah, they've raided all along the coast from the north all the way to Dorne, probably.
Well, there's also the thing of, like, in this time period, right, they probably don't get to raid the Summer Isles and Essos and stuff like that. That's why I brought it up. It's, like, because it's so messed up, right?
Yeah, a lot. The problem is with the raiding is there's a lot of instead of raiding, they're just fighting. Right? They're fighting each other. They're fighting the North. They're fighting Castamere. They're fighting the Lannisters. So right, they like have so many enemies that when they raid, that's just war actions, right?
Yeah.
So
There isn't proper reaving anymore. It's just raiding, really.
Yeah. And that knowledge failed miserably. So you look at there's several books of about the Citadel, but nothing that says anything about the specific.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd try, because I have the actual library to do it, so.
Yeah. Okay. So, anything else you guys want to do?
Well, Aroldis, I mean, he'll probably, when he comes back, Shedrick, he might inquire a little bit about how far they've raided and if they've made it to Old Town, getting around, High Tower, the tower on the bay, and any tidbits that he might have, but it's a long shot at best, and Aroldis knows that.
Yeah, so he says that he has seen the Arbor before, but no one has gotten inland to the to High Tower, to Old Town, because he claims there are magics that supposedly protect Old Town from any ship coming from the sea. That's his claim. He doesn't know if it's true. He seems like he thinks it's bullshit, but that's the rumor that the Iron Islanders have spread.
I mean, at this point, I would have held it at point, but I would have made it a point that, like, Daenerys is my, like, liege lord to him. I don't know if he knows that.
Yeah, he knows. He knows if you're from the. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's fine. He knows. Mm-hmm.
And I think to that deal, I would have added something like I would eventually get him an audience with Daenerys about seeking proper employment, not just my own. We could use allies on this side of Westeros.
He doesn't seem to be interested in employment per se, but he's kind of, his crew and his captain do what they want.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, if he's just looking to make money, Ian will definitely help him make it.
Money and glory, right?
Oh yeah. Well, not the glory part for Ian, but Shedrick can have all that.
So over the next, are you guys going to do anything else? You could go into his quarters if you wanted. He has like a small estate essentially in the keep that he allowed you. You each have your own small rooms. He doesn't like come and bother Clair or anything like you might expect. None of his men do.
No, I think Ian's gonna burn the midnight oil and just enjoy the time he has with books. So
Aroldis, like most good soldiers, is going to sleep when he is able, since he's smart enough not to kind of wander around the keep unattended, and the books don't have any particular interest to him.
Clair?
If he's not messing with Claire, I guess she'll leave all of his silverware here.
Yeah, I was like, can you restrain yourself from going and looking for some valuables?
Clair, go steal Nightfall. It's around here somewhere.
By Maester Trapdoor.
So, yeah, Claire will sort of take a page out of Aroldis's book and rest, recuperate, eat whatever's offered while we have the chance.
All right, so you guys are fed. It's fairly plain food, but it's well prepared. It's good, and it's better than anything you've had since probably leaving home. more than like. Definitely better than lizard lion or frogs. So,
Don't remind me about the frog.
yeah. So the next day, Shedrick comes and his servants come in and they feed you and actually offer you baths, amazingly enough. And he doesn't look particularly bathed when he comes, and he's like, "We're ready to go. Follow me." And he takes you back down through the castle and back through the main area where you had gone before, and then out towards the docks. And then you see this longboat with, instead of one side, that has two that are crossed and both dripping with blood. And underneath the blood splatter is this goose. And out its ass is coming a golden egg. And he's like, "The golden goose," and he just kind of laughs and walks towards it and onto the gangplank, and he waves you across.
Aroldis kind of
A ship
jaunts
after
on
my
board.
own. A ship after my own heart.
And so as you get on board, you notice some sort of commotion in the bow of the ship, and Shedrick nods, and he's like, "Our captain didn't want to take your deal, but the crew did." And you notice that they have a man tied upside down, and his ankles are tied together, and they're lowering him into the water, and he looks at them and then looks back, and he just kind of whispers, "What is dead will never die," as the man is lowered into the ocean. Or the sea, I should say.
I'm presuming I should be calling you Captain from now on, Shedrick.
And he nods, and he's like, "And if I am in the same situation, I will guarantee that you are as well." He's like, "So let's go make some money."
I always enjoy making money, Shedrick. There'll be more than you can count.
And as you're looking to pull away, you see a couple men storming down the harbor, and they're wearing these black capes that furrow behind them, and on their breast is a kraken, a golden kraken. And Cheddar goes, "Ah." He's like, "It looks like King Urine has heard of your presence."
Well, the sea does beckon for us, Shedrick.
And he seems to consider for a moment and says, "This is a dangerous time for me, my lord. If I set sail, have I betrayed my king?"
If you wish for me to speak to your king, I will, but it will only hamper the amount of money you will make. The sooner we get done with what I have to get through with, the sooner you can take my men, my trained warships, and all that. If not, bleed me dry, bleed my family dry, bleed everything I have, rape my land, take my women. But if you let
Not
King
me, though.
Urine if King
Clair-
Urine stalls that, then there's no point to having this.
Claire winks at Shadrach and says, "I'm pretty sure your king hasn't said anything to you about us yet, my lord."
It must not be too important anyway.
And Shadrach looks at the three of you and he's like, "I will tell you this. If Yoron takes you and decides to not let you leave this place, it will be much worse for you. Much worse." And he listens to kind of what Claire says, and he turns back to his crew and he's like, "Let's be off." And they pull the lines and start rowing away from the harbor.
A wise choice, Captain.
I like this guy. Leave it to the fucking Ironborn to be the ones that have the good deals, right? Like, can't get a good deal from, like the fucking Riverlands. Can't get a good deal from any Northern. We have to get a good deal from the Ironborn. What kind of backwards game is this?
Yeah, so the Golden Goose sets sail and begins to head south. You can see the two men on the dock as the wind whips their capes behind them as they watch the ship set sail, and they don't really yell out or anything. And Shedrick begins to take charge of the ship. So that's really it for today. This session could have went a lot of ways, and it all changed within 5 minutes when Rob disguised himself as a boy.